Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Non-League Podcast. Thank you again for all the support you've been giving us recently. We are looking at ways we can improve the podcast, so if you do have any ways we can improve, be sure to let us know by either messaging us on our Twitters, which will be down below, or just commenting it in the section down below. Nevertheless, let's get straight on with it. Let's start with the roundup of Tuesday's games. So, who wants to get started on the roundup on Tuesday then?
Yeah, I can go with
Go ahead.
Lynn Barnett. For a 5-1, it wasn't the best game in terms of both sides for Lynn. It was unbelievable, but then again, it's only Barnett. Opened it up with 2 goals from Gash. First goal was brilliant. Second goal was, I can't really remember now because I've slept since then. And then I think it was King who scored the third. Wait, no, sorry. Barnett pulled us back, making it 2-1. And then King, Marriott, and for the life of me, I can't remember the fifth score, so I'll just have a quick look. Scored to make it 5-1. And yeah, for a game against Barnet, it was very well rounded. Dale Southwell, that's who scored the fourth, and then it was Marriott. It was a very well rounded game. It was good to see Lynn score 5 for the first time since we played Leamington last season. And I hope that with that game and the game against Notts, it kicks up some form for us. Anyway, that's me done.
Okay, Kel, Hartlepool drew 0-0 at Wrexham. What was your thoughts on the game?
I was really happy with the performance and the players, to be fair. I think we completely dominated Wrexham. They didn't have a single shot on target in the whole game. We had a number of chances in the first half, including Luke Armstrong missing a one-on-one chance, which I think he knows himself that with the form he's in, he should be putting that away. Mark Shelton hit the post from a close angle. But I think at the end of the day, taking a point away from Wrexham is a good result, and also it really shows how far we actually have came as a football club during the past year or so, because of the fact that we're disappointed about taking a point away from Wrexham on Tuesday night. So yeah, we could have easily, I think we deserve 3 points in the night, but we need to take our chances, to be honest. But I think it was a really positive performance. So yeah.
Nice one, mate. Jacob, I want to just welcome him to the podcast. And obviously, Weymouth lost the derby 3-1 at Yeovil. What were your thoughts on the game?
Very. I was quite disappointed after the game, actually. As we practically, we got absolutely played off part, really. We were absolutely dominated by Yeovil, and I mean Reece Murphy on that night is absolutely brilliant, and it's just that's all I can really say. Really, it's just like, they were the better side on the day, and yeah, that's about all, really.
Other result I want to pick out. Actually, no, go on, Will. You go first. Don't worry.
Well, I don't know if I've stolen your result here, but Maidenhead versus Aldershot, which I probably have stolen your result, but
No, it's all right. Go on. Go ahead.
yeah, obviously the game was free to air because Maidenhead have had streaming problems, and we had a request about talking more about Aldershot, and I thought, as a Woking fan, I'm the perfect person for the job, So, but in all seriousness to them, Josh Reeves got a hat trick, and I thought he was really good. He was completely. He controlled the game, and he was in the right areas. And I think Aldershot have got a decent side. Maybe not good enough for playoffs this season, but they're building something. And if they can keep hold of players like Josh Reeves and obviously Ricky Miller, then they might have a good chance of a playoff finish next season.
Okay, I just want to touch on the Torquay game at Solihull. Obviously, they bounced back from the disappointing game where they lost at home to Halifax the game before. They got a narrow 2-1 victory at the end of the game with 10 men after McDonald and Net got sent off. And we'll touch on their keeper problems later on in the podcast. But then Solihull got a late goal, but it was no more than a consolation. And they did manage to bounce back to winning ways. Dan, any other game you want to add?
Yeah, Dagenham and Redbridge won, Sutton United 2. From what I've heard, apparently the second penalty wasn't a penalty for Sutton because they had a penalty in the 24th minute, which Buteman scored. Dagenham pulled them back in the 6th second with Liam Gordon. And then in the 93rd minute, Sutton were given a penalty, which apparently wasn't a penalty. Does anyone know any further about that?
I mean, I didn't see it, but like you, I've seen on Twitter from various fans saying it was a very soft decision, but I can't comment personally if it was a decision of a penalty or not because I haven't seen it. But yeah, agree with what you said.
But yeah, that's the only other game I want to talk about.
Okay. Anyone else want to touch on a game from Tuesday? If not, I'll just move swiftly on. Okay, we'll go on to the games from yesterday then. So, if anyone wants to get us started, then go ahead. This guy start with Dan, going for the Weymouth, and then I'm going to Jacob afterwards.
Yeah, Lynn Weymouth, 2-2 draw, really. Just simple game. First half was absolute manic. 3 scores within 6 minutes. Weymouth took lead for Andrew Dallas in the 13th minute. It was a really sloppy play at the back for Lynn, and it was simple, not what I'd call a tapping, but he couldn't really miss. Tyler Denton then scored from the corner of the 18-yard box with a very good goal. First goal for Lynn to make it 1-1. And then you have, when it decides to load, Andy Robinson made it 2-1. Can't remember that goal. I don't want to remember that goal. And then Cameron King in the 35th minute with a decent goal to make it 2-2. Second half was a good half. Lynn could have stolen it in the last minutes, but we just couldn't get a shot on target. Shout out to their keeper, Ethan Ross, is it, Jacob? I can't remember his name. I always get my Woking one. Ethan Ross, brilliant keeper. He was my Weymouth man of the match. My Lynn man of the match had to be Cameron King, and I'll pass you over to Jacob, who I don't actually think watch a game, but see if he has anything to add.
Yeah, well, I did actually watch the highlights of the game afterwards, and I have to give a big shout to Ethan Ross, who, really kept us in the game to get a point there. And I think the goals we scored in that game showed the quality we have and like why we should be able to compete in this league in the future. And Kings Lynn were a very good side, and they played their football really well. But we were lucky to score our first goal, considering a defensive error from Kings Lynn. But it's a very good game to watch, very entertaining. And I'll pass you on to Josh.
Cheers, mate. Kel, Hartlepool claimed a narrow victory over Barnet in the live TV game at 5:20. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, you'll see it's narrow, but we completely dominated them, which I wasn't surprised about because Barnet this season, sorry to all the fans, but if any of them's watching or listening, sorry, but they haven't been well this season. I think they know that themselves. But we came at the game knowing that it was an absolute must-win game. And our right wing back, Jamie Sterry, who ended up with man of the match, had a terrific game down that right flank. I think he crossed the ball about 12, 13 times, I believe, into the box, into a dangerous area. But it wasn't really our day about finishing, to be honest. We got the only goal, which Luke Armstrong, same person he always is in that 6-yard box, putting it into an open net. I know a couple of people are going to be like, oh, but he missed an open goal in the 89th minute. I know he didn't. He knows himself that he should be scoring that. But at the end of the day, it's another 3 points. Putting pressure on the people above us with like Sutton and Torquay. So there was not much else to really talk about, to be honest. Just a good win against a team that's struggling.
Dan?
Yeah, just a game I want to talk about quickly. Wrexham 4-1 against Wealdstone. If you follow my Twitter, you know I'm not exactly the biggest Wrexham lover in the world. But watching the highlights show they just completely played Wealdstone off the park in the second half, at least. The Stones took a lead in the 34th minute with Danny Parish, which was a header off the line, I believe. It went in. And then in the second half, Wrexham scored within, I think it was 45 odd seconds to make it 1-1, and then they just took off, really. And also the second game I think deserves a shout out is Bromley 3, Altrincham 1. It was a it looked a decent game. Michael Cheek, absolute class. 2 decent goals, one a penalty, one normal. And Chris Bush got sent off for shoving down a Altrincham player in the box during a free kick, which was absolutely beyond me why he would do that stupid decision to shove him down. Anyway, Will.
Yeah, well, following on from what Dan said about Altrincham, it's their 5th straight loss in the league, and I just wonder, we were praising them when they were on their winning run, but do we think now that they've sort of, I know this could come back to bite me because we've got them on Tuesday, but do we think this could sort of spell a bit of a period of where they sort of go on a big winless run, end up mid-table at the end of the season?
I was going to mention this, yeah.
I sort of knew with these part-time teams, it happened to Woking. As soon as you lose one game, it's like the confidence just drains out of you, and you need that another win before you start going again.
Well, yeah, exactly. At the start of season, I knew one of the clubs would have what I call like a little honeymoon period, where one of the clubs that got promoted, that is, where they just go on a good run, look in the playoffs, and then just drop off. I didn't expect Altrincham to drop off as much as they have, though. Bottom of the form table, no points in 5. And do you think they could be joining the scrap for the bottom, say 5, 6 of the table, or do you think that's all sorted already?
I think the teams down there I think they've got a bit more quality than the teams down there, in my opinion. I don't think they'll be too far in the bottom half. I think they can still get solid mid-table, potentially lower top half, because I think they've still obviously got a really quality team. But yeah, I don't think they'll fall that far down, especially if they start fixing up their form and going back on the winning run. Just one more game I'll mention before we move on to the FA Trophy. Yeovil got a narrow 1-0 victory over Dagenham. An 89th minute, really good hit from Tom Knowles to win it in the 89th minute for Yeovil. After Callum Reynolds was sent off in the foul that was leading up to the 3 kick for Dagenham. So yeah, back-to-back wins for Yeovil. Dagenham, however, their poor form continues. And I've seen a lot of Dagenham fans in particular shout out to Jude, call for McMahon's head. Do you think his time is up?
In my opinion,
sorry, Will.
In my opinion, it's a no-brainer, to be honest. The squad they have got, the money they've spent, there is no way they should be anything below the top half. And for them to just be almost sort of, if there was still relegation, which there might be in some extreme, for them to still be in that question is absolutely ridiculous. I think personally, as much as he's had the money, he's had the time, and here they are in their bottom half, and you just have to say, well, what's gone wrong?
When we played must be over a month ago now, they looked very poor all game pretty much. The issue is obviously we just did a good old Kings Lynn bottle from 2-0 up, but yeah, they just looked pretty naff all game, and I think it's time for McMahon to go get a new manager in, consolidate their position in the league, and then go for top half playoffs next season. Simple as.
Okay, nice one, guys. Let's move on to the FA Trophy. We'll start with Woking. We obviously took on Torquay. Go on, Will. What's your thoughts? Take it away.
Well, I think personally it's just it was what our season depended on, the FA Trophy. We're not going to finish anywhere particularly special in the league. And all our hopes were pinned on this one game at home to Torquay, who got a good result against Solihull. But you look at their lineup, they were very patched up. They were playing sort of wing backs at centre back and midfielders at left and right back. But you take all of that out and you've just got to win the game, and that's what we did. And I think I was pleased with the amount of effort we showed. We really, and the quality of the goal from the man Jamal Loza, who's hitting a bit of form now, just to turn his man and hit it in on his weaker left foot into the bottom corner. And Craig Ross, who once again saved us. saved an early penalty from Asa Hall, who scored 3 already this week. So it's not an easy. He's definitely not bad at penalties for sure. He's got 10 goals this season. All of them have been penalties, and that's penalty save seemed to spur us on. And at the end of the game, you got the controversial decision of was it offside when the disallowed goal goes in. Personally, from what I've seen, I don't think it's offside. I think we've got away with one, but you make your own luck, and it's just really good to have. We're one game from Wembley now, and I'm buzzing really.
Just before I move on to Dan, Will, is there a team you would particularly want in the draw, which is tomorrow, or do you just hope whoever you get, take whoever you get?
I don't want to show any disrespect, and I don't want to curse it, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut here because all the teams who are there deserve to be there, and I think personally, whoever we got to beat them. It's simple as that. You can't sulk about the draw. We've had Sutton, we've had Bromley, we've had Torquay. We haven't sulked. We've beaten them all, and we deserve to be in the semi-finals.
Okay, Dan, anything you want to add?
Just want to give another very big shout to Hornchurch here. I know Will's going to say what he said last week. I'm only going on about them because they beat us, which is not true. But to be pegged back 1-1 by a team like Darlington, who just dispatched Wealdstone 4-1, to go back and just win it is absolutely amazing. And I am so happy for them that a Step 3 club is in the semi-finals looking at the prospect of a day out at Wembley. Because Lynn Step 3 a couple of years ago, and I still have a soft spot for those divisions because they've got it tough at the moment, and it's just good to see Hornchurch going for it without their money. They're not the richest club in the world, and going for it with all the money they're getting from this trophy is absolutely unreal.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a friendly that took place on yesterday between the two leaders of this National North and South. Well, obviously before the null and void announcement, between Dorking and Gloucester. Does anyone want to speak out about this? Gloucester obviously came to narrow 2-1 victory. Do we think that this friendly was just a waste of time? Because it was, in my opinion. But what does anyone else think?
Well, at the end of the day, it keeps players fresh because I believe they're still in talks about this mini league, which personally I find pointless. But friendlies like this will keep the players fresh, keep them going and motivated for something. I didn't see the point in a friendly. If the league's null and void, then just live with it. You shouldn't be playing friendlies. If you claim to not have enough money to complete a complete the season because of null and void, then don't travel all over the country playing friendly. That's my opinion, Will.
I think it's a desperate attempt to try and get this mini league started, to try and say that this can happen. We're trying to make it happen. I just think the whole idea is not going to work because you look at South Shield, that they had as good an argument as anyone for getting promoted because they were at the top of the league. No one was going to catch them. They were 1 week away from being promoted mathematically, and they didn't get anywhere. And they had a massive law bill in terms of legal fees, which is, it just defies the point of why would you put yourself through that much strain when you know you've got about a 5% chance of getting anything out of it. I mean, both teams desperately want promotion, you can tell that. And it also just sort of, it seems like a desperate attempt to stop players from being nabbed by other Step 1 clubs, which has happened to Bath City with Tom Smith. And you just feel like it's a sort of kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
At the end of the day, I believe Dorking have said multiple times they're looking at legal action as well to get the vote overturned and go for a new one. But if the vote says null and void, just live with it. The board has made a lot of errors lately, but they say null and void. They can't just go around and create a mini league for teams who want to throw toys out their prams. It's ridiculous. Just live with the vote. It's happened. Go again next season.
I think you summed it up pretty well there, to be honest. But we all know certain Mr. Mark White won't have it that way. But let's start away from that. Let's go on to where we're at in terms of the season. So obviously, you will know that there's no relegation at the moment because of National North and South being null and voided. Does anyone want to just have a chat about where they are or where their team is at this point in the season?
Yeah. Oh, will you go first then, mate?
Well, I was happy we won yesterday because there was rumours that if we didn't win yesterday, the season pretty much pointless. So we might as well play the under-23s. But it's given us a bit of, momentum to get back in the league. We've got back-to-back wins now, and I just want to see us play, to be honest. And I just want to see us prepare for next season when all the fans are back and everything, and we're going to have a good go at the league.
Dan?
Obviously, just want to quickly go on about what you just said, Josh, about no relegation at the moment if they set up this mini league. But surely if they set up this mini league and promote one team, that would fill out the void that was left by Macclesfield going bust, surely, would it not?
Well, you would think so. But then again, this is the National League we're talking about. So
Exactly.
So who's to say that it will be as easy as that? But Kel, Hartlepool's season obviously going well, looking for promotion at the top.
Yeah, as much as, well, I think most people on the podcast their clubs don't really, if there's no relegation, don't really have to play for much. I know Wokin's got the semi-final of the FA Trophy, but apart from that, none of your clubs really have much to play for. So that's why I do feel bad for you, because of the fact that for once we're actually in a situation where we're fighting for something, which, as much as opposition fans don't like you, we are up for the title. Like, as much as people say, no, you're not good enough for the title, well, we're up there for a reason, so I don't see why we can't go and win it. In my opinion, we won't win it, but it's good to actually have, just for once, for the first time in about 5-6 years, some optimism to try and see how far we can actually get. So our season has been probably the best for many, many years. And as much as people don't like Dave Chandler, the manager, he's a big impact about why our season's doing really well, and the reason why we're up as high as we are.
Dan, anything else to add?
Yeah, I just want to quickly touch on, obviously, our predicament at Lynn. To be honest with you, I genuinely haven't got a clue what's going on, but listening to Steve and Cleve on the podcast yesterday, on the stream yesterday, it sounds like he wants to continue the season. Now, whether that's because it's got anything to do with us being Barnet and drawing with Weymouth, I don't know. But if he does continue the season, which I think is probably the right course to take, I think it'll be good for the club. It would be good for the club in the sense that we don't lose any players, because if we end the season now, players like Marriott won't want to be sitting around doing nothing for the best part of 6 months. So he'll probably jump ship to another club in the league. Not saying like Notts or anything, but probably like a Weymouth or someone like that. You just want to think that Cleve would not want to pull the plug on the season. It's 6 of 1. We could even just play our under 23s. I've resigned to the fact that we might end up just playing our under 23s. We'll see what happens when it happens, and that's me done for the moment.
Okay, so we'll move on and we'll just round up the month quickly in the National League. And let's start with, who do you think should be the manager of the month? Obviously, the nominations are out. Who wants to start by giving us their manager of the month? Will, okay, go on.
I think it has to be Darren Sala of Yeovil, simply because they've gone from not staring down the face of relegation because it was quite early, but a pretty terrible start, if you want to put it that way. Not winning in October and November, And then they've gone since then on a good run. They seem to have got Reece Murphy firing, and they're sort of looking like the team who finished 4th last season. And you just wonder what could they have done if they hadn't have had the slow start. That's going to cost them a playoff place, in my opinion. But yeah, I think he has to be manager of the month for the impact he's had, especially considering he was so close to the sack.
Kel, go on. Who's your manager of the month?
I think we can't look past the Eastleigh manager. To be honest, I don't know what he's called.
Ben Strevens, yeah.
Yeah, him. The fact that they didn't lose this month. I think they got three wins and 2 draws, I believe, this month, and they beat Stockport and Hartlepool. So I think there's as well as the other managers done, I really think there's no other man but the EC manager for manager of the month, because they've went from about 14th, 13th mid-table to being in the playoffs, and they were 4th place at one point. So that's what I think manager of the month should be.
Dan, who's your manager of the month?
Yeah, I have to agree with Will here. Darren Sol, he's been absolutely brilliant for Yeovil. They were looking really poor a few weeks back when they lost 4-2. Was it to Maidenhead they lost 4-2 to? And yeah, he's been good. He's brought the club back from looking in the jaws of what was then relegation to bringing the club up to, I think, what is currently 13th. And I can't look past him. That's my opinion.
I agree with Will and Dan here. I think Darren Sol definitely should be manager of the month. He's completely turned around for Yeovil. Obviously, they were in dire straits. Probably in the bottom end of the relegation zone. They really shouldn't have been there with the squad that they have, and he's got them away from it now. And yeah, in my opinion, Darren Sol should be manager of the month. But let's quickly, before I move on, I'm going to ask Guy his thoughts on the FA Trophy game yesterday between Aldershot and Hereford. What were your thoughts?
We beat them really, but it was frustrating to concede late on. I thought the standout players for Aldershot were Josh Reese and Miller, the striker. I thought Brandon Hall played really well, but then I thought we played well as a team. Thoroughly deserved to go through. And you know, like Will agreed, it's relying on our season, this trophy.
Cheers, mate. And who do you is the team you particularly want in the draw, or do you just hope whoever you get?
Preferably someone at home. I'll take Woking. No disrespect. I just think we could match Woking like we did to Aldershot. But yeah, avoid Notts realistically.
Fair enough, mate. Okay, let's move on to Player of the Month this time. And obviously, it's been a lot of quality in this month in the National League and a lot of screamers as well. So we'll start with Dan, who his Player of the Month should be.
Yeah, I am going to go for that Bromley player, Michael Cheek, top goal scorer in the league. And I think he's had a very good month. He's a good player, and he is my manager of the month. Bloody hell. Player of the month. Can edit that, Josh. Yeah, he's my player of the month. And yeah, that's fair enough. William? Sorry, Will.
I think personally, and I'm not a Yeovil fan here, I promise, but I think it has to be Reece Murphy. We've seen glimpses of what he can do. He's got 5 goals in the month, and he's all of a sudden exploded into form. He's back up there with the top scorers again, as he always is. And to compliment the sort of Yeovil month, if you like, I think it is a shame, because when I saw Yeovil play Woking, he wasn't very good. He was off the pace. You could see maybe he had a dodgy pre-season or something, but he's finally back to his best, and he'll be looking to hit those targets as the season goes on.
To be honest, I think I'm torn between Reece Murphy and Courtney Duffers. They're both done brilliantly for their respective clubs. I think we'll just edge it towards Reece Murphy, though, because of where Yeovil were in the league and how his goals have fired them up above and out of the relegation zone. But it would not surprise me if Courtney Duffus does nick it as well. So if anyone else wants to give their player of the month, if not, then I'll move on to the preview for Tuesday. Okay, so let's go on to Tuesday then. And there's not a full round, but I believe there's 9 games on the National League. So we'll start with Dan. Kingston, obviously they've only just played Notts County. This time they're off to Meadow Lane for the reverse fixture. What's your thoughts on the game?
I think it's a tough one for us, really. We could have beaten them at the Walks, in all honesty. I wouldn't say we played them off the park at Lynn, but we certainly had our chances to win 3 or 4-1. But obviously that goal from Reeves, just absolutely astounding, brilliant goal. I think we can go to Meadow Lane. If we just play our own game, we keep it as it is, do what we did yesterday, do what we did on Tuesday night against Barnet, I think we can steal a point. The only issue is Notts County away. Without fans, it's not as intimidating, but Meadow Lane is already an intimidating ground because of how big it is. And Lynn just do not have the experience of playing in big grounds, really. We've been to Fratton Park, I think. That's pretty much the only real big ground we've been to this season. If I had to say anything, 2-2 draw. I think there'll be lots of goals. I think we can score past them. Their defence is apparently not the best in the league. And yeah, I'll go either 1-1 or 2-2 draw.
Cal, for what feels like a ridiculous amount of times that this game's been trying to be played, Hartlepool away to Halifax. Obviously, it looks pretty likely it's going to go ahead because the weather is much better over here now than it has been. So what's your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed that this game will finally be played. It's about 3 months late, but at the end of the day, it's a game where it's away. Our away form isn't particularly the best. We've won 1 out of 5 games away from home, so we're against a team who 14th in the league, mid-table. So if we have aspirations of doing something this season, we have to beat teams like this. Even though FC Halifax Town did beat Torquay, which helped us a lot, I still think we can get a result. But at the end of the day, there's a Tuesday night game, which we need to travel down and maybe finally get some revenge, to be fair, for the amount of times this game get called off. I know it's not their fault, but still, we've travelled down there twice for a game to not happen. So I think we'll win 2-0. I think Gavin Holohan and Reece Oates will get the goals. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay, Will Woking travelled to Altrincham on Tuesday. Woking obviously got the confidence booster of the Torquay win. Altrincham obviously in dire form, like we mentioned earlier, losing their last 5 on the bounce. What's your thoughts ahead of the game?
I think it's a free hit, to be honest. All these league games are a free hit. There's no relegation. We've just beaten Barnet to get our first league win since December. We've beaten Torquay in the trophy. We should be going there with no fear. I'd have to say I won't be too disappointed with a draw because Altrincham is still a decent side. But I'd like to think the way things are going that we can sneak a win. I reckon another 1-0 and another clean sheet because we seem to have really tightened up at the back. And let's go another Jamal Isa goal because why not? He's got 2 and 2. He's looking good. And yeah, I mean, the rest of the season for us now is just sort of preparing for the FA Trophy semi-final, if you like. But I like the way we're going. I like how we're playing. So
Go on, Dan.
Will, just a quick question, mate. Do you think that you'll use the league games to kind of experiment what your best squad is and, depending on who you get in the draw, use the knowledge from the league games to decide your trophy squad for a semi-final?
I don't think we'll do too much experimenting now. We've actually found the formation, the 4-3-2-1, which seems to work really well with the 4-2-3-1 even, and we finally seem to have got something out of the wingers, and they're both contributing to goals. I think you're right though about the experimenting. Obviously, next season we're going to go for it. We've got investment. We're going to make signings in the summer, and it's all about whether this year we can see who's actually ready to go full time to attempt to finish top 7 next year. But it's exciting times at the moment for sure.
Fair enough, mate.
Dan, I'll ask you a question as well. It's similar to what you said. We mentioned obviously the experimenting with the Woking side because of no relegation as things stand. Must specify. But do you want to see Kingsland, or can you see Kingsland doing a similar thing?
Well, it's a tough one because I think we found our best side with Kawamia, Gash, and Marriott, and King. Not as a front four, but like King and Kawamia on the wings with Gash and Marriott up top with the service from Kerry behind. I think we found them 5 players stay on the team sheet each and every week. I think the back 4 might need changing about a bit because I believe Macaulay's injured, so he won't be coming back for a while. We've got Denton, who's very good on, I can't remember which side he is, but I know he's a fullback. I should really know this stuff. You've got Barrows, who can play right back, centre back, or in the middle. But yeah, we've got a lot of depth all over us. But the only issue is, I think we still need to find a second goalkeeper from somewhere, because if Archie Mayer was to get injured / sent off in a match, say like what that Notts keeper did in the 15th minute, I think it was, Lynn are never going to keep any shots out from anyone with 75 minutes left of the game. So yeah, experimenting would be good. But I also think certain games you have to stick with what we've got.
That's fair enough, mate. I'll just quickly go over the other fixtures that are taking place on the Tuesday. Got Solihull Dagenham, obviously pressure still ramping up on Darlo McMahon. Sutton against Bromley, El Clasico, if you will. Barnet against Yeovil, Chesterfield against Eastleigh, and Wilton against Bournemouth. But just before we conclude and sign off, we'll quickly go over next Saturday's games and preview them. So let's start off with, let's go Weymouth against Stockport. So I'll go to Jacob. What are your thoughts on the Weymouth-Stockport game next week?
Yeah, well, of course, it's going to be a difficult one for us, and I think actually, as a matter of fact, it'll be difficult for them as well, coming all the way down from up northeast. And last time out, we actually didn't manage to nick a win in the dying moments of the game, and I believe that anything can really happen. Since we last played Stockport, our squad has strengthened an awful lot, with a lot of new attacking options, and a lot of we've strengthened a lot in the defence since we last played Stockport, and yet I will add they are a very good side, and I think the points are there for us to take, really, as well as they are. But yeah, that's about all.
Kel, Hartlepool travel to Torquay, in my opinion, was the game of the weekend. Obviously, 2 sides in the promotion mix. How are you feeling going into this one?
I'm confident that because Torquay aren't really the same Torquay that they were the last time we played them. But I also have flashbacks on the fact that they did absolutely hammer us 5-0. But in my opinion, we're a completely different team than when we played them. That was like 4 or 5 games into the season, and now it's a massive game because if we win, I believe we'll be 1 point off them if we also win our game in hand, and we'll both be on the same amount of games. So I believe this game is actually massive for our season, and also theirs as well. So I think it will be the game to watch. And I think that if we go there, like my mate who I'm in a chat with, Hartlepool fan, he asked, would you take a draw right now if you could. And I said, yeah, because of the fact that our away form isn't really the best. We're travelling, I think it's about 8 hours. 8 hours there, 8 hours back. So 16-hour drive down to the bottom of the country in Turkey, which we have got a good record against away from home. But in my opinion, I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw. I think that both teams will just continuously cancel each other out, which taking the draw against Turkey, in my opinion, will be a good result.
Dan, you got a question?
Did you just say 16-hour round trip?
Yeah, because I think it's an 8-hour drive, I believe.
Bloody hell. For a
That is probably about
90-minute game of football.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that, but
It sounds about right, to be fair. That.
yeah, I just know it's a very long drive from the top of the country to the bottom of the country, so I just took a guess.
Bloody hell. You'd like to think that you'd get a win, because if not, the coach home for the players would be a bit crappy.
Oh yeah, so hopefully we get the 3 points, and yeah, so we go home happy.
Okay, Woking against King's Lynn, obviously another game between two members of the pod. Let's start with Dan on his thoughts on this one.
Well, the rematch. Confidence into this one is probably 10 times higher than what it was when we played you on Halloween. Mainly because, obviously, like I said, 3 very good performances in our last 3 against Notts, Barnet and Weymouth. Obviously, we don't have Jamal Ozer anymore, which he loves to remind me about, but I think we found a suitable replacement for Kwame. And just let's hope that we don't do what you don't do what I can't talk now. You don't do what we did to you, which was beat us with Jamal Ozer after we're 2-1 up. That's all I can say. Will, what's your thoughts on the game, mate?
Personally, I think it's a home game at Kingfield. It's a game against the team around us. If there was still relegation, I'd fully expect us to win this one. I think the way we've been playing, even though it's only been 2 games, it's still just been refreshing to see how, when we get Jamal Ozer and Malachi Napa on the wings, how we're creating more chances, which we were struggling to do. And we've finally managed to sort of unlock defences with moments of brilliance, which is what we've been crying out for. And I think personally, King's Lynn's at home, if it gets played, because obviously King's Lynn's in the balance, but I think we've got to be winning this one, whether it's a glorified friendly or not. I reckon a 2-0 win. I can see us almost. We do ride our luck a bit, but I can see us creating quite a few chances, and I can see Loza getting one because it's destiny. Let's be honest. Let's face it. It's destiny with the way he's been playing.
Don't even talk up. Don't even talk up, sunshine.
I just think it'll be nice to see football being played in the league again, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm going to go Lynn 2-1 win. I fully expect Jamal Ozer to shithouse a goal in the first 10-15 minutes. And then second half, Dale Southwell or Cameron King to score our first. And then I think we can win it, probably shithouse it in the 95th minute with Marriott, or I'd like to see Sonny Kerry on the score sheet again for Lynn. I don't think he's actually scored for us since the cup game against Vale. I might be completely wrong there. I just don't think he has. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens on Saturday, and I might not be making an appearance next Sunday on the podcast. Depends what happens. I don't want to be laughed at by Will, which will happen anyway.
After the inevitable Jamal Ozer perfect hat trick, I think you'll have a lot more to be laughed at than the result.
You're getting very brave, my man. You're getting very brave. Very, very brave. No, I just hope it's a good game, a good classic game of football.
I fully expect after King's Lynn have been battered 5-0 at Notts to call it a day and leave us hanging for the rest of the season.
You think they're going to batter us 5-0, do you?
Well, it's not
To be honest, you don't sound far wrong there. My confidence for Tuesday night is very on the opposite end of the scale to what it is for Saturday. That's even if we play.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, I hope it's a good old-fashioned game of football where both sets of players get stuck in, even though it is a dead rubber match. And obviously, hope Lynn win, even if it is pointless. And I compare one of my famous tweets again, Will, which you seem to like.
You hope Lynn wins so the town wins, because the town's been starving this past week.
And if Kings Lynn lose, the whole town loses. Anyway, let's stop rambling on, mate. Let's go back to Josh.
Yes, cheers. I was enjoying that actually, but one result I didn't actually mention was the other FA Trophy game, Notts County going through into the semis with a 3-1 victory over Oxford City, and we've got to give a massive shout out to Eli Sam, who scored quite possibly one of the best goals I've ever seen in my 19 years of existence, and that's not an exaggeration at all if you've seen it. It's just unreal. The cross sort of came in, and you sort of it's actually hard to explain without actually seeing it.
We will link it below.
I will link it. Yeah, we will link it below.
It deserves linking below.
It definitely deserves linking below.
I mean, I'm glad Casey isn't here, because otherwise, I don't think we'd be able to talk. It would just be an hour and a half of rambling on about how good the scoring kick was.
But it was unreal. And on that note, does anyone else want to mention the goal of the month in the National League? Because I think there's one goal that will stand out. I think Dan knows what goal it is.
Yeah, like Josh said, trophy goal and probably goal of the month for all leagues across the board in England, from the Premier League down, definitely to Eli Sam. Seen the video, beautiful. I think it was like a flick off the back of the boot just into the net. Somehow, how he did that, I don't know. He wouldn't do that again if he tried. Once in a lifetime goal, that. League goal of the month, definitely Jake Creeves against Lynn. Yeah, it's a very good goal. Apparently the ball was slightly flat, which meant he could get more dip on it. And it's just one of those goals that if you were at the ground and you were a fan of Lynn, you just sit there and applaud that, because you don't see goals like that often. And it was a beautiful work goal, and Notts deserved it. And yeah, you just applaud those kind of goals, because they're not once in a lifetime, but you don't see them often at a ground. So fair play to Reeves for that. He wins my goal of the month. Not that it means much, but Kel?
Yeah, I'm just continuing a second about that unbelievable goal by Eli Sam for Notts. That video that the Notts County put on the Twitter got 1.2. Well, last time I checked, they said they had 1.2 million views on that goal, which I think that also adds to the fact that people stereotype non-league as just like players who aren't really that good at football. But I think that really shows that more and more people starting to see non-league as players that maybe could do it in the higher leagues.
It's now got, just looked up, 2.9 million views, 44.3 thousand likes, 11,000 retweets. And I tell you, that is a beautiful goal. I just watched it back while Kel was talking. That is absolutely amazing. And that's one of those goals I could just sit and watch on a loop every second of the day.
I agree. It's great as well because it's getting positive exposure to non-league as well. And it's just like Kel said, it takes away from that stereotype that non-league is just basically shithouse football with average tapping goals. And to have a goal like that scored is just absolutely unreal. But does anyone else want to add with a goal of the month contender? Because I think I'd have to agree with saying Jake Reeves. If you're talking about league only, I say Jake Reeves because that was an absolute stunner against Lynn. But if anyone else doesn't have anything to add, then I think we'll sign off.
Yeah,
So, go on.
Just want to quickly add, who was that Yeovil player who scored against Weymouth? That was a very good goal in itself, wasn't it?
Yes.
Do you mean the Hartlepool one?
Was it against Hartlepool?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
there was a great goal against Hartlepool. I don't know the name of the lads, if I'm honest, but it
Tom
was
Knowles, I think.
Tom
Yes.
Knowles. Yeah, it was a good turn and a really good finish, which it caught everybody out, to be honest. Like, it just came from out of nowhere, but beautiful finish from, I think it was about 28 to about 33 yards, something about that. Banged it straight in the top corner. Unbelievable goal. And when I was watching it live, I was speechless. Like, yeah, it was a really good goal. But I still think that that Notts player's goal was better.
Okay, I think that's just about it for this episode. If anyone else wants to add anything else, feel free now. But I think, yep, we're going to end it there. Thank you very much for watching this far or listening this far if you have. Thank you again for any feedback or support you have. And if you have any ways we can improve the podcast, let us know in the comments or by messaging us on any of our Twitters, which will be down below too. We appreciate your time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon for another episode of the Non-League Podcast.